What makes someone no fun to be around? I had a friend once who apparently had the most tragic family ever. Your mom jokes were big in my friend group at one point. Somebody said one to him. My mom died 3 years ago. Okay, shoot. Sorry, I get it. But then you'd say, hey, let's go hiking in the morning. And he'd say my uncle died while hiking. So no hiking for us, dude. Let's go to the movies. And he'd say something like my sister disowned me because I said I didn't like pretty women, and then we couldn't go to the movies. The final straw was when my wife and I were at his house. She commented that he had a lot of open but barely touched bottles of alcohol. He said that he made a New Year's resolution to learn to cook and he was on a kick of making desserts that use booze in the recipe. She said to him, "Oh, sure. It's all for cooking." And he replied, "My aunt drank herself to death." We never saw him again. It was too much. This reminded me of Debbie Downer https://b/93s and 8jk. Kidding aside, rejection is easy. What's harder, and arguably kinder, is to tell the person how these comments made you feel. Maybe this person had no idea and getting this knowledge could help turn their life around. I'm not arguing for continuing the friendship, just advocating for compassion that is a far more rewarding choice than passive or outright rejection. I literally know someone like this, only that this friend also expects that someone must help him with all his issues, similar to the situation that you described. It's very exhausting. Corona vaccine, he is afraid of needles and he don't because yada yada. He can't leave his dog alone because he had a dog of the same breed when he was a kid and yada yada. He just can't going to eat with people because yada yada. He needs to wear always his sunglasses while with people because yada yada. He texts people continuously and people get crazy and he gets sad and yada yada. He doesn't answer the messages of friends and people just leave him alone and he gets sad again and even more yada yada. Then he complains about people not wanting to be around him and, they'll guess, yada yada yada. During lunchtime in college myself and a few friends were rolling around laughing at something one of us said. I personally love a good laugh that makes my sides hurt. There was a girl in the class who had some chip on her shoulder and whenever anyone had a laughing fit she would roll her eyes and moan about it. I never seen her laugh, not once. I don't know how anyone can be mad at laughter. Don't get me wrong, it can get annoying, but she was a real drip. Horrible to be around. A caveat here. I, a leftist, am sometimes accused of inserting politics into a conversation by a conservative who has said something so racist, classist, sexist, or otherwise demonstrably false that saying nothing would be immoral. But when I speak up, always in a scrupulously kind and neutral way, I am being political. Basically, they assume their worldview is the eternal default, and anyone who so much as corrects a demonstrably wrong fact, let alone expresses a different opinion, is the one starting it. If you don't want me to bring up politics, Susan, maybe stick to talking about gardening and funny things kids say. When I point out that your claim that all our downstate tax money is supporting welfare queen in Chicago has been demonstrably false for your entire life, I'm not the one who went there. Yes. 100% yes. Drug people occupy their own little world and only other high people can enter, which means everyone else exists on a different plane of existence essentially. Only their random madness manages to spill over from time to time, sometimes literally. Either everyone's got to be high together or not at all, or at least enough of each kind of stoner that they can form their own little pack of weirdness. Or if you're brand new to the game and still learning and there's always that one guy who will criticize everything you want to try or the race and class you want to try because it sounds interesting. I just want to be a Taboxy Ranger but I was told it's too squishy and won't add anything to the team. I like cuts man, I just want to try it frown. This is a huge pet peeve of mine, not even when they're hanging out with me. But if they do it at a restaurant when a server is talking to them or if a cashier is checking them out, it's so rude. Put down this phone for 30 seconds, pay attention to the person who is helping you, and say thank you. How fucking hard is that? So what is your opinion on X? You reply for half a second, then the moment you stop to catch a breath comes the unavoidable, well, my opinion about X is, which lasts no less than 50 minutes. I mean, we are all a little bit guilty of that sometimes, but the amount of people that routinely take this to comical levels of lack of common sense is staggering. Constant negativity. I do not consider myself an optimist or a particularly positive person at all, but I know people who have to make a negative comment about everything. Oh, this pasta is good. Well, yeah, it better be. The service here sucks and it's expensive. I liked Avengers Endgame. Yeah, well, the soundtrack was lame. I absolutely can't stand when people do that. On this note, people who don't like anything, every book, movie, TV show, etc. is awful. They will tell you for hours why you shouldn't like X because X is awful. Guess what? I'm gonna like X anyway because I don't give a shit whether other people like it or not. All this conversation has taught me is that I don't want to interact with you. My dad came to visit me the other weekend. Normally he's tolerable, but this weekend he was particularly bad. I could barely stand to hang out with him, honestly. Everything was just so negative. Like he wants to try my food at a restaurant, then says it's bad. I loved it. Someone will cough one single time and it's so we're next to a cougher. Didn't know we'd be next to a cougher. He didn't want to do anything at all except go on walks. He has no friends, no girlfriend, no pets. Everything is just a hassle and complaint for him. It's unbearable to be around. A contemptuous attitude, and an arrogance that they know best. And their information and insight is the only truth that matters. To be honest, I've probably been guilty of the above myself. Humility, and a sincere desire to hear someone else's story or words, with understanding, is what most people need. Also, self-righteous judgment against you. And that gut feeling that they will talk smack about you behind your back. Over any little comments you made or anything else. Hi you/Mitch7x, just wanted to give a different answer in case you posted this for personal reasons. That is, someone told you you're no fun to be around. If that happened, yes, you should do some critical self-reflection, but also remember you might not be the problem. Friends who really care about you will call you out when you're being a dick, but stay loyal and try to help you change. Watch out for people who are just insecure and want to make themselves feel better by hurting you. Not just that they are in an MLM, but every time you hang out, they are pushing their MLM, and once they start talking, that is all that is allowed to be discussed. They will happily insult anyone at a table and tell you that they are joking, but once anyone returns it back to them, they get angry. You're in a group and there is that one person who hates someone else, but that someone else either doesn't know it or doesn't care. The hater takes every chance to insult that person, cut them out, tell others how much that person sucks, and tries to get the group to abandon that person. Negative Nancy. This person can't find any happiness. Our boss provides a free lunch. They complain that it's not up to their standards, or that it's not their preferred restaurant. You offer to take them to a movie, even paying for drinks and popcorn, and they complain that you didn't put enough butter on the popcorn, or that there was too much ice in the soda, or that the movie theater wasn't the really good one. The expert, this asshole, and this person is an asshole, is the expert on everything and is going to suck the joy out of your day by any means possible. Buy a new car and the expert is going to tell you everything about why that make, model, and your number is wrong, overpriced, flawed, and not as good as the car he bought. Bought a new 55-inch 4K television and they are going to tell you that you should have gotten the 65-inch or not gotten the cheap 4K but shelled out more money for the high-end 4K. The ungrateful bitch. She does something for you and you better say thank you. She'll even ask, what do you say? You do something for her and she will ignore you. Real life example, my sister offered to buy me a drink and before she stopped talking, before I could get a single word in, she finished with, what do you say? I spent $80 on a dinner for myself, our mother, her and her daughter. That was $80 before tip. She left the restaurant, got into the car and pulled out her phone without saying a word to me. When called out by our mother, she shrugged and said I meant to, But I forgot, I guess. She was 38 years old when this happened. The accuser: you're playing a board game or a card game and this person is winning. All is good. The moment they start losing, or the moment the person at the table they can't stand makes an honest mistake, they start accusing others of cheating. They will even tell other players how to play to make sure the person they think is cheating will lose, and will deny that this is, in fact, cheating. I don't exactly know how to state this, but here goes. I can't stand people who wallow in self-pity over mental illness or who act like they'll never have a happy life because of it. They seriously give up before they even try. People will be like, oh, I have bipolar so I'm just fucked for life. Maybe I have spent more time around these people than others, because I also have a mental illness and I've been to a lot of support groups and stuff. Mental illness is not a reason to just not even try to have a life. And there is almost never a reason to feel sorry for oneself. Life is hard, but you gotta fucking fight for that shit. I have an ex like this and it had absolutely nothing to do with his mental illness and everything to do with his manipulative behavior. Apparently, from what I've heard, he's still like that. Every woman he dated ends up hating him because he's incredibly abusive and unpleasant. He knows it and gaslights everyone around him about it. He's just an absolute loser. For lack of a better term, it's like he wants people to know him and associate with him out of pity. I've had plenty of other people in my life with shit mental health and they don't pull the eternal victim shit. Damn, pretty sure the comments section has captured most of humanity. Too positive, too negative, talks too much, bad taste in X, doesn't like Y, and a lot of hypocrisy too. I hate negative people because, 3 paragraphs, people who talk too much are terrible to be around, goes on for 4 paragraphs, lol, live and let live if not love. FCK, I'm trying hard to change this, just saying, not seeking for attention. I'm 16 and I realize I've been most of my life doing things I don't even want to, just because someone said it was interesting and for some stupid reason I felt the need to please somehow that person interests. Thankfully I noticed the past year and I feel happier with myself. Living for the approval of people is really exhausting. The person telling you what you think. Oh, I see you hate me. I knew you wouldn't like me. I don't like me either. You could have told me that I'm just a bore to you. And all that in response of not answering in like 2 minutes. Like, gosh, I gladly reassure you, if I like you, but stop being that person. I am usually really tolerant of people and different issues or bad personality traits they have, but there was this one guy I knew that was just so difficult to be around that even I lost hope. He was a great guy, but he was constantly non-stop whining about how he's so lonely and everyone hates him and nobody cares. Even when you are right there trying to hang out with him and be his friend, he would just constantly act like this. You'd make plans, he'd bail without warning. One time we even made plans, he showed up, then he bitched the whole time about how he could be doing something better. So I told him to go do that better thing and all he did was go home and bitch online about how he's so lonely and nobody cares. I tried so hard to be his friend and after months of being insulted and ghosted and used, I just gave up. I think he only kept me around to be his emotional punching bag anyway, and as soon as he got what he wanted, some poor woman to date him, his attitude totally changed. People who constantly victimize themselves and blame their failures on others. People who think they are owed things just for the simple fact that life has knocked them down. I know a lot of people who have gone through shit but managed to make a good life for themselves. They push through and use the bad to fuel their hunger for the good. Hell, just the other day I was talking to this girl who impressed the heck out of me. I honestly was thinking about her this morning and I am still in awe of her. Now that's someone you want to be around and friends with. Overly serious, ranting on and on about the same subject for ages. Overly emotional. It doesn't necessarily make someone no fun, but people certainly won't want to hang around with someone who's crying every 5 minutes. Too political. They always talk about themselves. They always put down other people. Silence, social awkwardness. Unfortunately, you will be seen as a party pooper if you're sat in the corner not interacting with anyone. Always being intoxicated. Unless you're at one of those kind of parties, no one wants to hang around with someone drunk, high, because they often end up having to keep you out of danger, trouble, which spoils the mood. Overly positive, it's nice to be happy, but it can be quite uncomfortable for some people, and it's not always appropriate. These are all types of people that I've been around, and often I just find them either boring, uncomfortable, uptight, self-conscious on your behalf, as in scrutinizing what you say and do, as a reflection of themselves, judging and criticizing everyone and everything harshly, unless it is breaking balls, and genuinely funny. The person can pull it off, pointing out everything wrong in the world, large and small, generally while not lifting a finger to make it better, talking non-stop about themselves, with zero sense of humor about it, talking down to people, making hating things their whole personality, constantly making jokes, jabs about the people they hate. Someone who is a very nice person that's easy to get along with that becomes a ridiculously mean drunk. I had one buddy that was like that, and he was awesome and super chill, but as soon as he got any alcohol in him he became the biggest asshole to everyone. It was a Jekyll and Hyde situation that was a huge shock the first time I saw him drinking. He has since passed on due to an unrelated workplace accident and was still a solid dude, but only in non-alcohol situations. Let people enjoy things. Nobody thinks you're super smart because you can regurgitate a YouTube critic's rant about why that new popular movie sucks. Nobody thinks you're the ardent defender of free thinking because you think popular music is terrible and you know way better, more obscure stuff. There is room for criticism and discussion, but be nice about it. If you're always going on a bend explaining why the things that people love are bad, you're probably just being an asshole. If they point out that you're having fun, I'd cry, but I had an old friend do this one time. We hadn't hung out in a long time, partly because he got real into drugs and a bunch of shit my other friends weren't really into, so we kind of stopped hanging out. He sort of forced himself into a hangout one time. Things were a little rocky, but after a while we were having some fun and laughing. The guy literally was like, haha, we're having fun. It just ruined it for me. Those who are always negative, whether it be someone who is just always saying ugly shit about other people, or always saying ugly shit about themselves, ugly-hearted people with nothing nice to say about anyone but themselves are just the worst. On the flip side of that, I totally understand having some moments of insecurity, and having the blues is absolutely natural, but to have someone constantly talk down on themselves or being negative about literally everything, without and just wears on me. I can take it for a while and try to bring some positivity, but if it's never ending, then there's only so much I can take. People who take things the wrong way and get mad for no reason. I knew a guy in art school. He asked what the teacher said, but I didn't hear the teacher either, but I gave it my best try, and I even made sure I said, I don't know, but I think. When he found out what the teacher really said, he got mad and started cussing at me, like, for. I told you I didn't hear either, but my guess was reasonable. Another example, I was in the army. I sat my helmet down so I could sweep. An NCO found it and was walking around asking everybody whose it was. When he got to me, I told him it was mine. He asked me to prove it by showing him where I left it. I didn't feel like walking all the way back to where I left it. I was going to show him where I left it on the vehicle, but then say something like, but not this vehicle, the one way down at the end, but he cut me off before I finished and started calling me a liar. I was so pissed I almost slashed his tires. What is it called when someone is just trying to sound significant by repeating what they heard on the news or read on the internet? Like, this guy I know, really smart, 2 MBAs. Over the past year he's bunkered himself and his wife in their house because of COVID. We were talking on the phone about Austin, TX, and this guy starts saying that Austin's gone to shit because of all the Californians who moved there. So I asked him when the last time he went to Austin was, because he'd been locked down in his house for over a year, and his response was, well, that's what I've been seeing on the internet.